Hey everyone, welcome to Insights with Alicia. Every week we gather to learn and connect, and I often say things and people want to know more about it. They like the insight from the scientific psychic. The truth is there are so many things I've experienced that have transformed my life, and I love being able to share these insights with everyone, not just my clients. I talk about relationships, our behavior, so many life skills that will literally change your life, and the tools to support those changes. And let's not forget about the animals. Sometimes I talk about them too. For those of you who don't know, I am Alicia Sweezer, owner of Who Knew Healing. I am an intuitive life coach, animal consultant and communicator, psychic medium, and intuitive mentor. And I am super lucky that I get to provide healing and growth opportunities for people and animals. And one of the reasons that I love doing Insights with Alicia is because it gives you a place to start creating something new in your life for free. Who doesn't love free? I get to shine a light on things and show a different perspective for how you can create change for yourself. And then if you choose to continue down your path, you can work with me individually to transform at a deeper and quicker pace. I always like quicker. Like, let's get this stuff done. Let's be moving down. Let's get to the next thing. And as always, episodes of Insights with Alicia are available on Mondays. They are available on my YouTube channel under Alicia Sweezer and on all the podcast platforms as Insights with Alicia. As well as for my readers out there, I don't forget about you. It will be posted as a blog post on Wednesdays on my website, Who Knew Healing. And that's new with a K. Okay, so what are we going to talk about today? Normally, right, like I kind of have a setup and an outline and kind of like a little class that we talk about, and I walk you through, here's what we're looking at our behaviors and here's how you shift it and that kind of stuff. Today's going to be a little different. I gotta get a drink of water here. I seem to not have a voice again this morning. Today is going to be a little different because 1 week from today, I'm recording on Sunday, not the usual Monday. I am going to be 50 years old. Right? Hear that? And so we're going to talk about aging today. And we're going to just have a little stream of conscious conversation here about turning 50, what age means, and all those kind of things, and just random things that have popped in my head over the last few months, particularly even the last week or two, about aging and turning 50. And I will tell you a little funny story here because, I'm an intuitive and these are the kinds of things that happen, is I had just been writing notes all week because I had a sense that there would be a podcast about this. And so you get the idea and you write it down on a sticky note. You're somewhere, you're in your bedroom, you got your journal there, somewhere else. And I have all these stickies. And then eventually I wrote them all on one piece of paper. And I woke up this morning and my intuition was like, nope, today's the day to record. And I was like, okay. And I can't find my notes. None of them. They're not around. And I even asked Mattia, I was like, can you please bring my notes back? Because, they hide stuff. And nope, no notes. So I had to try and recreate all of the things that I wanted to talk about, which all that this means for those of you that are ever doing anything like this or anything in your life where you had a plan and then all of a sudden your notes disappear, it's okay. It really, really is. Because all that means is that some of the stuff that was on that original set of notes, it's not what you're supposed to talk about today, or it's not supposed to go into your event, or it's not whatever it is that you're creating, not meant to be. So I wrote some down. We'll see what happens. We'll see how this podcast goes. It might crash and burn and you'll get done at the end and be like, what did I just listen to? What was that? So we shall see what goes on. So, and I say that because in the past I would have really freaked out. I've been like, oh my God, I mean my notes. And, but I've been doing my business long enough. And I mean, I've been doing this stuff for over a year now, but still I would have been like, no, I need my notes. What am I going to do? Now I'm like, all right, we'll just see what I can remember, which isn't a lot with my brain injuries. And we'll just trust the universe and we'll trust spirit. And because like I said, I woke up first thing this morning and this is what I started to do. I haven't even had breakfast. So you just follow the energy and you trust. Okay. So like I said, we're going to talk about aging and all these other kind of things. So when I turned 40, 9 years and 358 days ago, it didn't have the same feeling. It didn't have the same heaviness. It didn't have the same beliefs around turning 50 does. And I don't know because when I turned 40, I was in the middle of, I had separated from my husband a few weeks before, not very long. And, we were going through all of that goes on, right? It's a lot. If you've never been through a divorce or separation, it's a lot. There's a lot that goes on. And, I just, I had so many other things going on, and 40 didn't really seem like that kind of a big deal to me. And I had an amazing birthday. An old friend of mine, another Mary, right? I have so many Marys. And this one I worked with at Game and Fish, and it was the greatest birthday because I had missed one of the things I miss about living in Michigan, and my family knows this, is the Chinese food, the egg rolls. Here in Arizona, they're not the same. And so what we did, it was so fun, is we went to like 6 Chinese restaurants and we ordered just egg rolls from all of them, just for fun, to sample egg rolls. And we went ice skating, and it really was a great birthday. So that helped, the separation and all of that. But 40 didn't seem to have the same, we'll say, sting at the moment, because that's where I've shifted from. And I'm going to walk you guys through that. But as I started thinking about turning 50 the last few months, it had a sting to it. I was like, ugh. And having conversations with my friends, we talked about when we were growing up, what 50 was personified as, right? It was the Golden Girls. Remember that show? Like, who doesn't love the Golden Girls? And those women were supposed to be in their 50s. And if you remember what they looked like, right, it was all the, mature woman's hairstyle, right? The short and the curled, and they all dressed in like very flowy clothes, except Blanche, right? She had on different kind of clothes. Because, you really weren't supposed to show your figure once you've reached that age. And they were all either divorced or widowed. And because by 50, you're widowed. And that's what we grew up thinking, old age, quote unquote, looked like. And today, 2023, that is not what 50 years old looks like, right? We got Jennifer Lopez, J-Lo, on a Super Bowl stage doing all kinds of stuff that upset the whole world. And she's 50. She looks fantastic. And I have lots of friends who are my age, right? And they look fabulous. They are just absolutely stunning, and they're 50 or above. So it's one of those things where we get to look at what beliefs did we used to have versus what is the reality of the situation. And even yesterday, I was on Facebook and a reel or a story or whatever popped up, and it was a guy interviewing Mick Jagger when he was young. And the guy said to him, it was like on a show, like a Tonight Show or something, only it wasn't Johnny Carson, it was something else. And the guy said to him, like, can you really, can you imagine doing this when you're 60? And the guy said, imagine doing this when you're 60, when you've got a cane and you're hobbling around on stage. And I thought to myself, okay, so at 60, that means that you're supposed to have a cane and you're supposed to hobble and you're not supposed to move around. And if anyone knows Mick Jagger, that man is like 80 years old, shaking it on stage still, right? The Rolling Stones are still doing their thing. But it stuck in my brain of, okay, even back then at 60 is like, you're 2 steps away from death, apparently. And that's not the reality. I mean, yes, we have science and just the world in general, at least here in the US, where our lifespan has increased significantly by decades, right? Because we have better nutrition, we have healthcare, we have all kinds of things like that contribute to an extended life. We're not 200 years ago where if you made it to 30, that was a great, a big deal. And so it was just interesting to me of all of these places of where we've bought into other people's ideas about age. And, I'm Generation X, which is, we always laugh. You see all this stuff on social media that we're the forgotten generation because you got the boomers and the millennials and the Gen Zs arguing with each other. And we're just hanging out in the middle with our popcorn, watching the show. And so it's interesting. It was also this place where birthdays are a place, anniversaries in general are kind of a big deal to me because it's a place where we get to look back, like whether it's the last year or over our whole life and that sort of thing. And that's one of the things we get to do with birthdays is you start to look back on your life. And so many people don't. They're like, oh my God, I just don't even want to have a birthday. And I'm thinking, well, the alternative is, if you don't have a birthday, you're not here at all. You know what I mean? It's like, you can not celebrate it. That's one thing, but you were born on this day and either get to keep having them or, your time has come, which is great too. Just transition, go someplace else. And we get to look back over our lives and think about the things of, there are a lot of people that have regrets. And for me personally, regret is not something that I subscribe to. It is not a belief that is anywhere in my world because I don't regret anything that's happened in my life. I don't regret the decisions that I've made because that would mean that I would see them as something that I did wrong. And that doesn't mean I don't make mistakes. Absolutely do make mistakes all the time. And there's a difference between, I have the spiritual belief that everything happens for my highest good, even if it's quote unquote a negative thing, right? So you guys, some of you, I don't talk about it a lot, but some of you, I've had 5 traumatic brain injuries over my lifetime. And those are the big ones. I don't, and everybody should, but like I said, I don't count ones of like concussions of falling off horses and stuff. I'm talking about ones that have, taken you to the hospital and that sort of thing. And for those of you who've seen some of the videos, the last one was in 2006. And that's the one that completely changed my life. I couldn't be a wildlife biologist anymore. I spent the next 15 years in physical therapy, not being able to walk normal. They wanted to put me in a facility. I passed out every day at 1:00, not knowing if I was going to wake up. So imagine for 15 years, that happens to you every day. Plus not being able to work full time and all of the things that come with this reality of money and, staying alive and taking care of yourself and feeling like you're drunk all the time, because that's what it's like when you have 4 kinds of vertigo. I do not recommend it. So there are people who will often ask me like, oh my gosh, you must have hated that. And you must, you don't want that to happen. And they feel sorry. And I'm like, no, I would not change one step of my life. Ooh, got a little emotional there. I wouldn't, because that was unexpected. It made me who I am today. Every single one of those things, good, bad, beautiful, ugly, whatever we want to judge them, it made me who I am today. And I love who I am today. That doesn't mean that every single part in my life is perfect, because that's not what it's about. But I'm happier than I have been. And I love that I have this business that I'm creating change in the world in a different way now, because that's what happened with this last head injury. It's like I couldn't be a biologist anymore. So I learned my own healing and I, found great doctors and I went down this road of, this is what I'm going to do to change the world now. I did it as a biologist before, did what I could to serve the animals and the environment and the planet and the people, even though there's so many that don't think it's all connected, but whatever, that's a podcast for a different time. And so now I get to serve in a different way. So that's one of the things that I invite you to look at is regret something that you have a lot of energy around? Is it a belief that you hold, with both hands? Because even, people who get divorced or have marriages and that don't work out in the way that they thought they were gonna, I don't regret any of that. Was it easy? No. Did we have some good years? Absolutely. And like I said, I don't regret it because it made us both who we are. And all of those experiences are what I get to help people with now, right? Like you guys know that, like, that's why my clients know what I teach them works, because I've lived it. I've done it. I use these tools. I changed my mindset. It's like, I am living proof that this stuff works. And, it's been tested and tried, and here are the benefits, right? It works. So, look at your life and look at, where are you making yourself wrong? Now, like I said, mistakes are different. We all have those, but where are you judging yourself to the place of, oh my God, I can't believe that I made that choice. And this is how my life happened. And I'm such a horrible person for that, or I should have known better, or why did I date that person or marry that person? And it's like, we get to look at it offer forgiveness for ourselves and the other person if you choose. It's all a process. And then choose again. We get to choose again. And I get it. I am one of those people that sometimes I get stuck and it's like, oh no, I get to choose again. And this world doesn't always have space and teach us that we get to choose again, right? It's a very human thing of like, oh no, I picked this. Now I have to stay with it until the bitter end. It's like, no, you really, really don't. You get to choose again. Because even in relationships, if you're not happy, chances are the other person isn't happy at that moment either. It doesn't mean that you don't work on things and have conversations and see where we can come together. But when we stay in this place of, oh, I'm supposed to because I said X, Y, Z. Yeah. And things change. I get it. I thought I'd be married forever. And it just didn't work out. We tried and tried. Just we had grown in two different directions. And we get to choose again. And so look at where you're holding on to things that no longer serve you, right? Like I said, birthdays are a great place, any anniversaries of any kind, to look back and reflect, not regret. I invite you to reflect, not regret. And just look at where you can celebrate the things that you chose, even if they didn't turn out the way that you wanted them to. Because there's so many times, like I said, everything I've been through, I would have never known that that's how I get to help people now. And as you've heard me say many times, the universe, God, source, whatever your language is, doesn't tell us that stuff. As humans, we want to see all the steps before we make a choice. It's like, okay, if I choose this door, I want to know what's behind the door. And if I choose this door over here, I want to know what's behind that door. And no, it's not how it works. Because if we know what's behind the door, chances are sometimes we wouldn't always choose it. And that's why we get one step at a time, which I know is frustrating, still makes me crazy because I am very much a quicker pace kind of person with my own stuff. I have patience for other people, but with my own stuff, I'm like, let's do this. Let's do this. Come on, show me the steps. Let's get moving. And many times there are places where we have to wait for the other pieces to fall into place, right? Because it involves other people. So we get to wait for them to move to their place on the chessboard so that we can interact. And, we don't get shown all of the steps. So it's another place where we get to practice trusting and having patience and all those things that I teach and get frustrated with myself. So yes, that's one of the things. And the other thing that I noticed in these last few months of turning 50 and making that number mean so many things and having so many beliefs around it and being tapped into all the beliefs of everyone else. So that's a place where we really get to use our intuitive tools, right? Like return to sender. And this is not mine. And, ask those questions of ourselves of like, is this my belief? Is this one that I've bought into? And then shift it or clear it. And if you don't know how to do that, it's absolutely something that I can teach you. Book a session. We'll get in there. We'll get it taken care of. And there's times that we slip into the human part of us and we slip into this reality with both feet, right? Where we, it's very much, what is that saying? Oh gosh, no, I can't think of it. Like be of this world, but not in this world, something like that. And, you start to look in the mirror and you start to see wrinkles and you're like, oh my gosh. And for me, I still have acne. Like, I think that's not fair that I have wrinkles and acne at the same time. It's a belief that I'm holding on to. Can you hear that? It's like, that's not fair. How could there should be some kind of switch? Like I shouldn't have to have both. And I'm using should, right? So you hear all the judgments. And it's that place where we don't get to make ourselves wrong. We just get to go back and forth because that's part of the human experience where I go, oh, when I'm in my higher vibration, when I'm my 5D, it's like, you know what? These wrinkles, they're just an outward reflection of the life that I've had. My smile lines are from all the laughter that I've had in my life and all the little lines around my eyes. A lot of those showed up when I was married because, my ex-husband was deployed twice to Iraq. Those were very stressful times. And it's like, that's just a testament to how much I care and to the experiences that went on. And then I will slip into my human self and be like, oh my God, so many wrinkles. You know, a Zoom, thank God you can't see all the fine ones, but I do have the big one between my eyebrows here, right? Like my dad has that same one. And if we can, we get to love ourselves in those moments and be like, yes, I have them. I'm not that kind of person. I mean, at least in these 10 seconds to go get like a facelift. I can't, because I've seen them done. You know what I mean? Once you've seen them done, of like where they take the skin off your face and they stretch it. I can feel that. That doesn't mean that in the future, maybe I won't. But as of right now, no. And I don't judge people that do. It's like, hey, whatever, you know, makes you feel good and you feel happy about, and whatever is a match for you, then absolutely, you know, I support anyone in choosing those kind of things. You just get to see the whole spectrum here of what this looks like. And I'm just being very honest about all of it. It's like, these are the thoughts that I've had the last couple of months. And one of the things that really started to shift this for me just in the last couple of weeks, as my birthday got closer, is my friends. And for my birthday, we're going to have a little get together. We're going to go out, and my friends, ooh, I might get all emotional here. They're super excited to celebrate with me. And I was like, wow, like they're really excited about this. And I have tons of friends who aren't even in state that support me. And, you know, you guys have seen some of the gifts, and I am very, very fortunate to have the people in my life that I do. And seeing my friends be so excited really healed and shifted some of those feelings inside of like, no, this is something to celebrate. Like, this is, whether it's 40, 45, 38, it doesn't matter. Like, this is a day that we're going to celebrate me, which is okay. And then not okay sometimes, because my introvert self gets freaked out. So, because that's a lot of attention, and it's a lot of receiving, because that's really what it is. It's like, ooh, that's a lot of people that are going to show up and they're there for me. And right. It's a lot of practicing receiving. And that's a challenge that we all have. Even when it's receiving love, it's like, oh my gosh, this is so much. And they're all here. And then, you know, then I have feelings. I don't always want to have feelings. And these aren't even going to be unscheduled feelings, because we have a date and a time. They're going to be, you know, scheduled feelings. So, yeah, my friends, I just, you know, I want to say how grateful I am for them, because they really shifted a lot of this for me. And the next place that we get to start to look at this is like dating, right? And it's one of my clients that I talk to and my friends. And when you're out and about, when you're at this particular age, you know, 40s, 50s, it's really hard to tell how old someone else is. And you'll see someone and you're like, oh, he's really handsome. Like, and then you're like, you know, it gets in, you're like, oh God, he's like 30. And I don't judge anyone who dates anything younger. That's 20 years. That's way too young for me in particular. And then, you know, there'll be other people where you're like, they're just too mature, right? It's like, well, that's out of my age range in the other direction. And so it's just funny as we have all these conversations about where is this, the rest of the Gen Xers, you know, where is this middle ground of, you know, Goldie and Lox and the Three Bears of where is the middle? Because too young is just too young, and too mature is just too mature for the life that we have right now. And for me in particular, one of the things that pops up and is you know, a lot of people chose to have children later in life. And so you can meet a lot of men, and I'm talking heterosexual here, you know, I date men, but these concepts transcend all genres and gender and that sort of thing. Is there, you know, I can meet someone who's 45 and he's got a 5-year-old child. And for me in particular, that's not a match. Like dating someone with young children is not a match for me. One, children weren't, you know, I chose to not have children. And I'm, like I said, I'm gonna be 50. Like my time, like I love my freedom. I have my own business. I create my schedule. You know, it's sort of like, this is my time now. And when you have a child, they're your priority. And it's just not where I am in my life. And I'm not the only one who's seeing these same kind of situations, male or female. And it's interesting. And my clients are always like, there's no one out there. There's, like they make their ideal list, and then they have their, like for me, right? It's like, I don't want to date someone who has small children. And so we can easily fall into the idea of like, well, then there's no one out there, or the dating pool is really small, or I'm going to miss something, and all these thoughts and things that pop up and that I see in some of these Facebook groups. I'm in one now, someone added me to, and the stuff that people write in there about relationships and being single and how they're looking for things. And I'm just blown away sometimes. And I think to myself, because you can't promote your business and that kind of stuff, right? And I never would, but I'm like, I can help you. I can help you. We could totally, change that for you. So, because that's what I want to do. I want to be of service. I want, amazing relationships are absolutely possible for everyone. And, so it's this place of, there is someone for you that I know for sure. Like there is. If that's something that you want in your life, then you can totally create it. And for me, it's been interesting because I've been divorced now, 9 years, separated 10, divorced 9. And I like being single. You know what I mean? Like I'm not one of the people, and there's no judgment in this, that can't be alone. My fear is that I'm going to not want them around all the time because I have been single for so long. And the truth is, it's not really a fear, but it is one where I'm like, I wonder what that will look like. And when someone's a match, that stuff just disappears, because when they're a match, it's just there. That part's easy. If you are at a place where you have to really work at wanting to spend time with someone, that's something we can look at. Ask some questions. Is it a match? If you're trying to force something. And so yes, for those of you that are reaching age of 30, 40, or 50, 60, 70, I even know a gentleman who's 80 years old, and he struggles to find someone as well. He was telling me just a couple of days ago, and he doesn't, when people think of 80, right? Like that's a whole other thing. Oh, you're supposed to be in a nursing home and that kind of thing. This man feels like he's 60. Like I forget that he's 80 all of the time. And so he attracts women who are in their 50s and 60s. And he's like, I'm 80. You're still too young for me. And those are his parameters, is, what he has set up and that sort of thing. And so we get to look at what it is that you're wanting, and relationships are absolutely possible. The other thing, and this will, can be to teach others, but my intuitives out there will really get this. I need another drink of water. Is us feelers. I kept telling my friends, I'm like, I can't feel the number 50. I can't feel it. And not that there aren't days that my body feels 50 or, but it's like when I turned 49, there was a feeling to the number, and everything I do is by feeling. So, but 50 just, it's this elusive thing that just pops around, and I can't seem to grab it out of the air. I'm like, oh, there's 50. Yes, I know what that feels like. Doesn't have a feeling to it. And that bothered me for a while, because like I said, I'm a feeler. Like that's how I do my whole life. And usually when you can't feel something, it's not, and this is one of the things I teach, where, people will be like, oh, I can't read this person. And the truth is that you can read them. What you're reading is that they're really walled up, or that they're really shut down, right? Because we're used to getting so much from people. And when we come across someone that's kind of quiet, we automatically think, oh, there's something wrong with my gifts, right? I'm doing it wrong. And the truth is, it's like, no, you're reading them correctly. There just isn't anything to read. They're just very walled up, which is fine. There's no judgment in that. And so I got to look at that with this 50, and I'm like, nope, it just seems to float around. And I was speaking to a colleague what day was it? I think Friday, a couple of days ago. And we were talking about this, and she's magical. And she said, well, what do you want it to feel like? She's like, what if you got to choose what it felt like? And I was like, son of a, you know what I mean? Like, how freaking expansive and magical is that? This is why I say teach your friends stuff, because when you're in whatever thought process or whatever, you can't always remember all your tools. Like, teach your friends. Even my clients, I tell them, like, teach your friends this stuff, because when you're in it, they can help you with it in the moment. And I was like, ooh. And so I spent some time with that, and I was like, you know what? 50 feels like freedom for me. And not that I'm chained up and not free by any means. It has the feeling of expansiveness and free to choose and free to create. And what I started to realize in that is that if 50 would have already had a feeling of its own, I would have bought into whatever that was. And that's not a place I'm at in my life anymore, right? I'm very much doing my best to create and be expansive and be in the place of possibilities. And that's what 50 feels like to me now. So it is going to have a lighter feeling. It is going to have a higher vibration. It isn't going to have sort of the human part of that tangible feeling of like, oh, I'm going to take this and I'm going to bring it in. And this is what 50 means. And it's like, nope, we turn that around and we decide for ourselves what it feels like. So super grateful that she asked that amazing question. And I got to, my logical side got to stop freaking out and got to chill and be like, oh, okay, now we know what to do with that. Cause it's always like, for those of you that can't see me who are just listening, my hands are moving around. It's always this place of like stuff is floating around me. And then when it finds the spot it's supposed to be in, it's like one of those little ball games, right? It's a tray and you're moving the ball around and you're trying to miss the holes and then you get it in the right slot. Or like Plinko. Remember the Price is Right game? That was always my favorite. Plinko falls into the $5,000 slot. Because until that thing whatever it is, thought, belief, idea, class, whatever I'm creating, falls into that slot, it's always poking at me. It's always circling around. It's always in my energetic field. And so now, thanks to her magical question and me choosing what 50 feels like, my analytical logic brain can go like, oh, it's in the slot. And it slides in and it's no longer floating around. It's no longer poking at me. So my brain can chill out. Thank goodness. And I say all that because I know I got some left brain empaths out there who have some really strong brains. And I know you know what I'm talking about. So ask some questions around whatever it is that you are having a challenge finding a feeling around. Okay. So that's it for today. That's it for, what we were going to talk about. One thing I do want to say is that I invite you to look at your own thoughts on aging and birthdays and numbers and any of the stuff that we talked about today, regrets in your life, and really spend some time looking at what's holding you in place, what is sticking you, what are you holding on to that isn't yours. And if you're going to be 50 this year, happy birthday. If you're going to be if your birthday is still to come this year, happy birthday. And if you've already had a birthday, happy belated birthday. And it's just a place to look back. And if stuff comes up and you're like, ooh, that's a lot, book a session. Like, right. This is what I love to do is like, let's look at that stuff. Let's get it up there. Let's turn it on its head, pull it apart, create something new, release what doesn't work for us, and move on and have, a great, fabulous life and amazing relationships. So, okay, that is all. You've got my stream of consciousness on turning 50. That is what this podcast was about. I hope it was helpful for you. Have a fabulous week. By the time the next podcast comes out next week, I will have been 50. And if this was a contribution to you, then please subscribe, like, share, comment, do all the things that gets this to more people so that it can help them. And like I said, for my readers, it'll be posted on Wednesday on Who Knew Healing. new with a K, as a blog post. And thank you to everyone who has donated to my cosmic tip jar. It allows me to create more free things that I can give to people. And if anyone feels led to do so, the links are in the descriptions. There's multiple options. Thank you so, so much. All right, everyone, have a fabulous week. I will see you next Monday, or here, you'll listen to me for those of you that don't watch. And all right, bye-bye.